Welcome to another exciting tutorial. Today we are going to make something like this using Blender and FlipFluids add-on. Let's get started. Select the default cube and scale it up 10 times than its original size by pressing S 10. So now this cube is 10 times larger than its original size. Go to the physics properties and apply FlipFluid to this cube and select domain in the type, and I will rename this cube to cube-domain. Now create a text object by going to Add menu and Text and scale it up 5 times larger than its original size. So press S and 5. Rotate this text on X-axis at an angle of 90 degrees. So you can press R, X, 90. And you can edit this text by going to edit mode. And by using backspace, you can delete the letters. I want a capital L. I come out of edit mode by going to object mode, and now we are going to edit some properties for this text object. So I will go to object data properties for text, and in alignment I want to make it center and vertical alignment also as center. Then I can go to geometry and I can extrude it like 0.2 meters. Something like this, and in depth 0.02, so it has some smooth edges. I can press 1 on the numerical keypad to see my front view, and I will move my text upward by selecting the move tool. Let me rename this text dash container, and I need to create 3 more copies of this text object because I have to animate 4 characters. So by pressing Shift D and moving it on X-axis, something like this, and by clicking I have created another copy. So now repeat this process 2 more times. I can press Shift R. So I have created 3 more copies, or in total I have 4 alphabets. Let me rename them to text-container-1, text-container-2, -3, -3, and the last one as text-container-4. I will select these 4 text objects and I want to move them to a separate collection just for better arrangement. So I will press M and new collection, And you can see I have the text objects in this new collection. The reason I made a separate collection for my text objects is because I need to duplicate them again to create 4 more text objects later on. So select text-container2 and go to edit mode and delete this, and I need a capital O. Select this one, go to edit mode, delete this, press G, object mode, select the last one, go to edit mode, delete this, press capital O and object mode. Now you can arrange it as you wish. I'm just arranging them according to approximation. I'm not using perfect calculations, but if you want, you can use perfect calculations to do this. So I will keep them something like this. So my text objects which will hold the fluid are already ready. Now I need to give them an animation, so they are falling down on the ground. To create the ground, I will add a cube, and I will scale this up in X and Y axis by pressing S and then pressing Shift Z to restrict the scale on Z axis, and then moving my mouse. So in this way it will only scale it up in X and Y. Then I can bring it down something like this, so it's just touching the bottom of the domain cube, something like this. And I can see it's like this, and I will call this cube as ground or floor. Now I need to apply physics so these objects can work as real world objects. I will select the first alphabet and I will go to physics tab, and I can see there are no rigid body physics here. The reason is rigid body physics cannot be applied to text. So I have to select all these 4 text objects and I need to convert them to 3D mesh. So after selecting these 4 text objects, I can go to object, convert to mesh. And you can see now they are not text objects anymore. These are 3D meshes. And you can see that now I can apply rigid body physics to these objects. So I will select the first one because I cannot apply rigid body physics to all of them at once. So I need to select the first one and rigid body, and it will be an active object, and I will make the collision shape as sphere. Now I have to apply the same rigid body physics to all the other 3 text objects, and I cannot do it at once. So after applying on this first one, which is the active object, I will press Shift and click and drag over the remaining 3 meshes. The L is the active object because you can see it has an orange outline and the remaining have a red outline. So search for a command by pressing F3. Copy rigid body from active object. So I have to apply this command, and you can see the same command has been applied to the remaining meshes. I just need to adjust the position of these objects so the mesh is touching the bottom of the sphere. So I will go to edit mode by pressing tab, and I have to select all this mesh by pressing A, and by using move tool I can bring it down. So you can see it's going to touch the bottom. Go back to object mode, do the same thing for the remaining objects. Press tab, press A, and move it down. Go back to object mode, select the third one, edit mode, select all by pressing A, move it down. Go back to object mode, select the last one, press tab to go to edit mode, press A to select all, and move it down. Perfect. So all of them should be at the same level of at the bottom. And now let's also apply a rigid body physics to the plane rigid body, and it will be a passive object because it's not going to move. And I will change the shape to box. Let's play it. And you can see animation is working, but there is no bouncing. So I will select the ground and I will go to surface response and I will increase the bounciness to 1. Let's play. There is still no bounciness, so I will select the letters and the first letter, and I will go to bounciness something like 0.5. Select the second ones, do something like 0.6, and for third one 0.6, 0.7, whatever you like. By giving random bounciness, your characters will bounce randomly. So now check your animation, and you can see there is a little bit of bounciness, and G has very less. So you can increase the bounciness a little bit or decrease it as you like. Play the animation again, and G is still not bouncing much, but if you don't want it to bounce much, you can just keep it like this. It doesn't matter. It's really up to you how you design your animation. And I think I like something like this. If you want more bounce, you can select the floor and you can increase the bounciness to something like 2, but that will be, I think, too much. Yeah, this is too much, so I will just bring it to 1.2, or even just 1 was okay for me. So yeah, okay, I love this animation. It's final for me. I will just adjust the equal balance of the position. I'm not using mathematics to do it very precise, but just doing it with the approximate positions. You can do it as you like. So I think this is alright for me. And remember that these 4 objects should not overlap each other like this. It shouldn't, because it will not work then. And so sorry, you can see if they are overlapping, there will be a disturbance in the animation. So there should be distance between all these objects. Play it once, so you can see your animation is working properly and the characters are not falling here and there. So we have achieved a difficult animation, and now we need to convert this animation for all these 4 characters to keyframes. We need to bake this animation to keyframes. I think when they are at the bottom, I can select, sorry. So I will select 4 characters, LOGO. So I have selected these 4 text meshes, and I will go to Object, Rigid Body, Bake to Keyframes, and I will press OK. And let me check my animation if it's working properly. Sometimes it doesn't work properly, so you need to do this baking of keyframes separately for each character. But in my case, I selected all of them together and it's working properly, and you can see the keyframes have been created. And now it's not a physical animation anymore. I need the keyframes so it can work perfectly with FlipFluid. So now we will continue finishing our FlipFluid setup. So let me apply FlipFluid to the first letter, L. FlipFluid, and I will make it an obstacle because it will act as a container, and so I need to activate inverse because it's going to hold the fluid inside. If you want, you can manually do the same thing for it, like FlipFluid and obstacle and inverse, but there is another shortcut to apply the same setting to all of them. So I'm going to apply FlipFluid physics from active object to the remaining objects. For this command to work, you need to have one add-on activated. So you can go to preferences and you can type copy, and interface copy attribute menu should be activated. And in the similar way like we did before, to apply rigid bodies physics, we can select the first one and then shift and drag select the remaining. So L is the active object. Now I can press Ctrl C and copy selected custom properties. So it will apply FlipFluid physics to the remaining objects. So if I click this, and the same obstacle has been applied to all the remaining meshes. Next step is to duplicate all these 4 text meshes. So I can press Shift D after selecting them, and so I have, you can see, created 4 other copies of these meshes. So we need to rename these duplicated 4 meshes text meshes. So this one is the original L, this is the second L, so I will change it to text dash fluid-1 because these duplicated text meshes are going to act as fluid. So this one is the second O duplicated one. I will call it text-fluid-2, and this one text-fluid-3, and this one as text-fluid-4. So we have these four acting as container, and then we have these four acting as fluid, but they are at the same position, same rotation, same scale, and doing the same animation. So if we play, we only see them like once. So now select your text-fluid and change the FlipFluid type to fluid. Select the second one, change it to fluid. Third fluid object, change it to fluid, and fourth text fluid object and change it to fluid. So these four are fluid and these four are containers. So now our most of the animation part is done. Select the cube-domain and save this file. We are going to change some settings for resolution. I will just keep it at 150. For final resolution, you can keep something like 300. And then I will go to FlipFluid Whitewater and I will enable Whitewater simulation because I want foam, bubble, spray, and dust. So also activate dust. Then go to FlipFluid display settings, and if this is disabled, you can enable stable rendering and go to Whitewater display settings. And in display setting mode, you can select foam, bubble, spray, dust, and again here in particle object setting mode, foam, bubble, spray, dust. I think for our this world scale and object sizes, this particle size 0.008 will work properly with all of the animation. So let's bake just to see if it's creating our fluid or not. So I'm going to bake it for some time, around like 30 frames. So I have stopped the baking around frame 30 or 31, and I will hide my text meshes so I can see if fluid has been created or not. And I can see the fluid has been created. If I open FlipFluid collection, I can see this is FlipFluid surface and bubble, dust, foam, and spray. Everything is working properly as I expected. Let's talk about how to render this scene, what to render and what materials to apply. So you can go to render properties, and first of all your render engine should be cycles. Then you can go to world properties and make sure your surface is background, and instead of any other color you have selected black color, so there is no light in the scene. Go back to render properties, and in maximum samples you can select anything between 16 to 128 or even higher for your final animations. It's up to you. Remember to select denoise In light paths, click here on the presets and select full global illumination. And if you want, you can also activate motion blur. Then we can apply some materials to the objects. So I will go to front view by pressing 1 on the numerical keypad, and I will select the ground. For ground, I will apply a new material and I will make it a glossy material, and I will select 100% white color. Let me call this material as glossy. Dash plane or underscore dash plane, so I can know that this is applied on the plane. And I want my text dash container 1, 2, 3, 4 to be rendered, because they will be the containers, glass containers holding the fluid. So I need to apply glass material to these 4 objects. So I will select text dash container dash 1 and new material. I will call it glass. And in the surface, I will select glass BSDF. And I will go to text container dash 2. I will also apply glass. Text dash container 3 glass and text dash container 4 glass. And make sure the render button for final render output is activated. Text dash fluid 1, 2, 3, 4 are not going to be rendered, so they should be turned off in the outliner. We don't need the lights, so you can select the light and you can delete this light by pressing X. You can select any object so you can have the access to material panel. Now we are going to make some light illuminating materials for our 4 particles, for bubble, dust, foam and spray. So make sure nothing is selected. You can click here in empty space, so nothing is selected, and you are going to create 4 materials. New material, and I will call it emission. And I will make it an emission material, and I will select any random color. I will make another duplicate of this material by pressing this button, new material, and I have a second emission material. I will give it another color like blue. I will duplicate again this by pressing this, and I will make another color, something like pink or whatever you want. I will again duplicate this material, so there is a 4th emission material, and I can change another color. So you can see I have created 4 light emitting or emission materials, and then I can select my white water bubble, and I can apply one of them, emission 1. I can select dust and I can apply emission 0.001. I can select the foam particles and I can apply the third emission material, and then I can select white water spray particles and I can apply the 4th emission material. If you want, you can rename them like emission 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 4th material, but because I duplicated it, so it's saying 0.003, but in fact this is the 4th one, but it doesn't matter. And then you can go to fluid surface and you can apply ocean volumetric, but we cannot see it here. For this, you can select the cube-domain, and you can go to physics properties or FlipFluid properties, and you can apply materials from here. FlipFluid materials, and you can see that you can also apply the materials to the particles from here as well. We were unable to apply fluid material from outside, so we have to apply it from here. Water, ocean, volumetric. And now let's rebake around frame 60. Reset, bake, and bake. So I have stopped the baking at frame 60, and let me check my fluid, and I can see the fluid is perfectly created. And now I would like to render a final image, but before that I need to adjust my camera, and you can see my camera is looking something here. If I press 0 on numerical keypad, so you will see what camera is looking at. To quickly adjust camera to the same view I want, I can press 1 on the numerical keypad to have the front view activated. And I want camera to look at the same view, at the same front view, so I will use a shortcut Ctrl-Alt-0 on the numerical keypad. And now camera is looking at the same view. If you want, you can adjust the camera a little bit by selecting the camera here and changing some attributes. And I can see, I think my camera is all right. But this view is out of view, so I can move it a little bit back by changing the Y value. You can adjust your camera according to your view. Go to camera properties, and because we are using very big scales, so you need to change this end value to bigger value, something like this, so camera can look far away. Now let me bring my playhead to frame 60, and let's see if I can do a test render. So I will go to render and render image. I hope it works properly. And I have just rendered it at very small resolution like 16, but you can do it something like 128 and it will give you much beautiful fluid. One last tip I want to give you. In the first example which I showed you, the fluid is not covering all the letters from inside 100%. I want to show you another example, this one, where you can see the fluid is covering 100% area of all the alphabet meshes. So how to achieve this result? You have to do only one simple thing. You can go to text dash fluid dash 1, 2, 3 and 4 and change their FlipFluid property from fluid to Inflow. So you can select all these 4 fluid meshes and you can change to Inflow. In this way, the fluid which is going to be generated will cover all the area of the fluid. So that was the last tip. I hope you like this tutorial, and if you have any questions, please you can post in the comments and I will definitely answer your questions. And see you next time.